Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is the world premiere.
Great morning, precious people. You know what time it is. That's right. It's time for your number one talk show, The Culture Call, with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3. Yes, FM and 790 WTSK. Yeah, this is the place where Tuscaloosa, meets the world. And yes, for the next 2 hours, that's right, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be talking a little bit about everything. That's it, from society to sports, education to economics, and from religion to relationships. And as always, y'all, we are here to create a safe space to have empowering, provocative, and yes, controversial conversations. And guess what? You can call in and or chat it up with us on the app and learn with us together right here on the Culture Call. Listen, you know how we do it. Shout out number one. That's what I said. Shout out number one to all of our first-time listeners. Hey, welcome to the CC family. So very glad that you are here with us on this morning. If this is your first time, somebody told you about us, hey, we want to welcome you with open arms to the CC family. Want to also make sure that you are listening throughout the whole program. I'm telling you, because if you engage it, it's going to bless you real good. Absolutely. So no matter if you're at your desk, on vacation, maybe you're driving, maybe you're just doing something, got your headphones in. Yeah, you're at the right pace at the right time. Welcome to the Culture Call family. Shout out number two. Hey, to all of my faithful, committed, consistent listeners. Every day you connect me and Brother Jay. Hey, and he says take good care of me, and you all do all of the time. And so definitely I want to thank you for seeing me in the street or in the grocery store, shaking my hands, giving me hugs, giving me that dap and that encouragement that I need to keep on running, doing and blessing our community, doing what I've got to do to give you the best information, knowledge, because knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is power. And if it's the right knowledge, it'll be the right power. So we put that adjective of right on it. But we want to give you a shout out because there would be no us if there were no you. So we really appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, shout out number 3 goes to Brother Jay. That's right, Brother Jay, that leads us all the way from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. Hey, and passes me that hot baton and tells me to run on to see what the end is going to be. Encouragement, mentorship, you can't beat it. He is one of the best humans on the face of the planet. I know because I've run into some raggedy people before, and Brother Jay is the cream of the crop and top tier. So we definitely want to send a shout out to him. Hey guys, do me a favor. I need you to get your smartphone, and I'm sure it's close near you if you're not listening on the radio. You're probably listening on your phone, on the web. Hey, but I'm going to make it a little bit convenient for you. Go to your app store on your Apple or your Android device, and there you will find, search out Praise 93.3 FM, and you're going to find an app there, free 99 that is. Go ahead, download that on your phone. That's right. Put it on your phone. Yeah. If you got to delete some pictures and other apps, go ahead and do what you got to do. But make sure you've got that app on your phone, and there you can listen to the Culture Call, and not just this program, but every program. Brother Jay early in the morning. You can hear me from 10 to 12, and then Brother Chris, and then late at night, Sister Darlene. You can hear all of the amazing things that we're doing right here on Praise 93.3. Also, hey, you can get your updates, your current events, the weather, sports, whatever you need, you can get it from that app. So go ahead and download it right now. Hey, do me that favor. Also, Also, if you haven't done so already, follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, The Culture Call. All you got to do is press that like button with the thumb up. And guess what? You are following me, and there you can see all of the posts that we make. And I've been trying to take it easy on people. I think Facebook kind of shadow banned me because I was talking so much about religion, history, and politics. You know, I wasn't aware that some keywords I couldn't use. And so I noticed that hundreds of folks was looking at my post. And then all of a sudden, 9 people, 6 people. I was like, what is going on? One of my friends like, hey, you got shadow banned because there's some things you can't say on Facebook. But nonetheless, hey, your boy is trying to navigate that. And I'm going to figure out a way to say what I need to say because I need to say it. Yeah, on social media. Absolutely. And so go ahead and follow me on Facebook. Hey, also do me a favor. Send me your public service announcements and events to culturecall.praise@gmail.com. That's culturecall.praise@gmail.com, and give me an opportunity to let everybody know, Lottie, Dottie, and everybody know what's happening at your church, your organization, your sorority, your fraternity. If you're an artist getting ready to have a concert or a preacher getting ready to run a revival, I want to be, I want to be the announcer. I want to let everybody know exactly what you're doing so that we can put some faces in the place. Yeah, to let you know what you're doing is so important to our community. You know why? Because we do it better when we do it together. And as always, here is the golden number, 205-752-4800. That's 205-752-4800. Call into the show, or you can chat it up. That app has a chat feature. I know a lot of you are currently at work and you can't call in like you want to. Yeah, you can't call in. No problem. No matter. I need you to go ahead, hit me up on that chat and let me know what you think about what we're talking about. That's so very, very important to me. Hey, do me a favor. Sit back, relax, grab you some coffee. You know how we do it. Maxwell Houses, Starbucks. Maybe you're not a coffee drinker. Cool. That's fine. You get you some tea, a spot of tea. Go ahead and do that chamomile if you're trying to calm down, and the green tea if you need a little caffeine kick to move you toward that lunch break that's coming up at noon, or maybe you take an early lunch break at 11:30, whatever that is. That green tea will help you get a little bit there. Maybe you don't like coffee or tea. Hey, we don't do soda in these parts. I'm going to recommend some spring or some alkaline water. That's right. Want you to do that. Flush that system, get hydrated, and come on, let's get into the culture. Before I go any further, y'all, have y'all been paying attention to the news? Because something broke yesterday, and I want to make sure that we all heard the same thing, right? It has long been suspected, and this is what we're going to be talking about. We've been talking about integrity, morality, and all that in the weeks prior. But I want you to see that, you know, some people call me suspicious. Some people say, well, you know, you shouldn't mix, spirituality and politics. Just talk about God and leave politics to itself. And I was like, if you don't go sit down, that just simply means you don't know the full Bible. You haven't read the Bible. You don't understand the historical and cultural context of the scripture. Yeah. So Special Prosecutor Jack Smith yesterday just released his particular indictment. You remember the Supreme Court said that gave the former president presidential immunity almost ad nauseum, right? The absolute presidential immunity for any act that he did in his office as the president. And it was an official act as the president that he could not be criminally liable for, even if he broke the law. And everybody was in an umbrage. You know, everybody's like, you know, there was one on the right side, which is, I don't know why they call them right, because they were dead wrong. But nonetheless, they were on the red side. Can we say that? Everybody's like, these conservatives like, yes, that's right, the president. Because they so want to be up under a man-made theocracy. They so want to be up under that. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But nonetheless, and the blue side was like, that is an egregious decision against the Constitution and what the forefathers of this country had intended when they wrote that document. Nonetheless, yesterday, Judge Chutkan released the report that Special Counsel Jack Smith put out of the non-official acts and how the former president literally conjured up lies and did all of this. I mean, conjured up lies to say, number one, that the election was overturned, or whether yet the election was fraudulent. There were votes, all that, and he lays it all out. I mean, and here's the deal. This is not an instrument or an indictment that uses any Democratic people to help him draft it. In other words, everybody that's in this report is on the GOP side, is on the red side. So I don't know if these people got a conscience. I don't know if these people were threatened with legal action against them, or I don't know if these people were like, well, okay, guess what? If I'm going down, you going down with me. But nonetheless, they really mark out what we all knew. Well, at least I knew it. I knew that there was something going on. And I'm telling you, they begin to release that. They've been releasing those reports out on the news, on social media, on various news sites, electronically, just mapping out how he did not even care. The former president, that is, did not care, y'all. Did not care about lying. Did not care about saying, hey, we got to make up some fraud because I can't leave office. And that's interesting. I don't want to leave office because I know if I leave office, what just happened this past year is going to happen to me, which means that he was adjudicated and found guilty. And then, of course, there were judges that he appointed, i.e. the Supreme Court, i.e. Eileen Cannon, and various places in the country that he appointed that kind of moved the goalpost with regards to him standing trial. See, they were trying to prevent all of this information coming out with the hopes that he could stir up enough racial animus and hatred and division and grievance in this country so that people who feel that way would vote him back in, right? But this report is a whole upend, right? Following off of the heels of that, I don't even know what to call the debate where one side just patently lies, that J.D. Vance just patently lied and Tim Walz was telling the truth. You know, that last question, he almost made it. And then the moderators gave him that last question about the 2020 election. And the question was, can you say unequivocally that the former president lost? And when J.D. Vance could not say that, and that opened up a whole new can of worms. And then yesterday, here comes this report out, this indictment out of all that he did, trying to say that the election was stolen from him when it really was not. And we see all of this collusion. We see all of this backroom argument. We see him knowing about January 6th and the riot, him saying, let them riot, let them go ahead and do it. Which means, watch this, he knew it was coming. And so he's been lying as like, oh, I didn't have anything to do with it. No, those people were there because you called them there. There was prior collusion in that. Yeah. And this is what he's running away from. This is why he's trying to get elected so he can use the presidential powers to put people in place that will make all of this go away, right? And he's got to stay there and erase it. That's why he took all the documents. That's where the document cases come. And that proves that he was a Russian agent, because a lot of those documents that he has, that he's facing, again, with the judge in Florida, in Mar-a-Lago, all those documents, secret documents, that he has were already sent out and to other countries. We already know that. And he was supposed to turn them in. Matter of fact, every president has to turn them in because they are governmental property. See, president is not a personal office. No, why? Because we, the people, vote for the president. That's what we do. I mean, we vote for the president. And so that presidency, the White House is called the people's house. The presidency is the people's position, right? And so, but he has taken it like, and his ilk, not just him, but he's got a support system that says, this should be a dictatorship. This should be, the president is personal. And so he takes it as it was his. and thought he was getting away. But man, when he said, hey, they were like, hey, they're trying to come after Pence, his vice president, and he got mad at Pence. There's the only reason why J.D. Vance now is the vice president is because Pence, who was his vice president, did not upend the Constitution. That Pence literally certified and ratified the election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, right? And Trump was an affront to that. He was trying to prevent that. And there were people that were trying to find Pence and really, put him under duress and hang him, And so when they said, hey, they were hiding Pence, he said, so what? Because all to him is, he said, I don't have to do, his whole mantra in life has been never admit the truth. Never, always lie. And don't ever admit that you're wrong, always lie. And now, culture call. Here is the problem with this. There are millions of people. Yeah, there are millions of people who think he is right. And it's based off of racism. It's based off of this faux grievance, right? It's based off of this mentality that Euro-American people have been wronged in this country. Now, they want to erase the historical wrongs that they have perpetuated, right? And they want to erase that. They want to give you a faux or a fake history of what this country, slavery was a partnership. All of it. They want to take out all of the race. They want to take out all the lynching, all of the laws, all of these things they want to take out because they're finding out that hatred and division and supremacy and suppression is losing its grip in this generation, right? It's losing its grip. And so the last effort that they're taking now is to put God in it, which is what that they tried to put God in it from the beginning, not because God said it, but their interpretation, right? Some of the most wicked people in this country that were ever born were born in the 19th century, where they started framing and referencing this whole idea of race identity in terms of they created blackness. First of all, they created blackness, and then they created this thing called whiteness. And then they started doing evolutionary charts that put white folks on the top and then every other ethnicity on the bottom, right? And so this whole thing, so the former president starts appealing to that notion. And this nation that always suffered from that was getting ready to heal with that in 2008 with the election of the first African American president, which was Barack Obama. But in that, y'all, come closer, in that you find the former president, he was the president at the time, raising his head, making a question about whether Barack Obama was even born in this country. And he sent people to Hawaii and all these other places. And this whole birtherism, y'all remember that? He was the one, this former president started that, right? And he stirred up that racial animus again. He did it all. And then he decided Barack Obama insulted him at a White House Correspondents' Dinner. And his feelings have been hurt since that day, right? Historically, he's always had an issue with black and brown people. They were taken to, he and his father were taken to federal court because he would not rent his apartments or any housing to black and brown people in New York. And then he takes out this ad about the Central Park Five, which is now the exonerated five because it was proven even after they spent time in jail. He was trying to get New York to bring back the death penalty. Now, wait, let me stop right here. The reason why I am talking like this is because there's some black people and some brown people who like, yo, that's the dude because he gave us $1,200. That's the dude because he know about business. No, he does not. He knows about branding. Branding and business are two different things. Rewind, stop, press play. Branding. Right? He doesn't own businesses. He owns a brand. And the brand is his name. So they put his name on certain things because they figure out his name is synonymous with being successful. Not that he is successful, but his name is synonymous with being successful. Come on. So I know during the 80s and the 90s, all of the black hip hop artists and the young guys wanted to be like the former president. Yeah, they wanted to be like this because when they looked around, there was this. There was, Trump Tower, Trump Steaks, Trump this and everything. He was on television, all these things. He was on that measure and that mechanism, and they wanted to be like him, featured in movies, and he was the quintessential rich guy. And so they admired him because of his and I'm doing this in the air quotes, y'all can't see me, I'm on the radio. But he was doing that. He was the epitome of what they wanted to be with regards to of wealth and power. But the emperor had no clothes then. And so, that they didn't understand that he was a brand and not really a businessman because he went bankrupt, right? And folks are like, well, bankruptcy simply means that, you tried something, you failed. Bankrupt. He's not worked for the money. No, he inherited the money. His father left him $400 million. Now, y'all, what could we do if our foreparents left us $400 million at the least? At the least, to start our lives, right? Oh, okay, so fast forward, we get to this point now where it's all being uncovered. We're seeing in 2016, it was proven about when he ran against Hillary Clinton. It was proven about Russian collusion. It was proven that he tried to manipulate the Ukrainian government, and they would not, which is why he is mad at Ukraine now, because Ukraine would not help him overturn the 2020 election and have something against Hunter Biden, which was President Joe Biden's son. Ukraine wouldn't help him. And so he is the kind of person that just decides that if you don't help me or you don't kiss my ring, then you have made a perpetual enemy, right? We're fast forwarding. You see, I'm trying to walk this history, right? Because there's a point here I'm trying to make at the onset of the show. Here is the deal. And so we find out now that when he loses, he was trying to make sure that he didn't lose Georgia. Now, here's the deal, that Georgia put Biden way over the top, right? Georgia made sure that Biden was way over the top, right? And so he was trying to get in his senators, Ossoff and Warnock, the won Georgia, and not the ones that he wanted to win in Georgia in terms of the Senate, and then came back and the presidency. He won the Biden, and Harris won Georgia. And so since then, there has been this national collusion of voter suppression. There's been this, and it's all in key states, right? And now bring it to the day. Glad that you said that. The Justice Department has who in the Civil Rights Division in particular have even sued our precious state. Yes, the state of Alabama. Yeah, because of voter suppression and disenfranchisement that they were doing in 90 days before election, that dropping people off of the voting rolls and all of that, and making the hurdle to get reinstated. First of all, not contacting the people who they dropped. But number two, making the hurdles high. So if you wanted to get reinstated, the issue is that you are supposed to find out 2 weeks before that your name was dropped. And then it would be difficult for you, or better yet, on the day of the election when you went to vote, right? Because y'all not checking like I've been telling y'all to do. Yeah, you're supposed to go there, and now you can only vote provisionally. Now, when you start thinking about provisional ballots, it's almost the last ballots that are counted. And they're not necessarily handled top tier like the same ballot that you do that goes through and, the electronic machine, all those different kinds of things. And so the state of Alabama has been sued, but it's not just them. Georgia, they want to hand count the ballots. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. And then their election board, who's run by the majority MAGA people, they want to hand count it. And then if their candidate lose, they want to be able to not certify. They want to be able to certify. So that means that if Harris Waltz wins Georgia, that they have the discretion on whether they could certify it or not. So that means that Harris and Walz would not get the electoral votes in terms of the Electoral College, which is a racist institution anyway. They wouldn't get the same votes, right? They wouldn't get the votes that counted toward the electoral count, right? So technically, here's what they were saying, that if Trump lost Georgia, then Trump would still win Georgia because they wouldn't certify the Georgia election. And to slow it down, they would hand count it. Now, Georgia has at least 8 million voters. They've got way more than who are voter eligible. But, the last election, those who voted was about 8 million. Can you imagine counting 8 million votes by hand? They wanted to take it back to counting the Chads in Palm Beach. Y'all remember with the Gore v. Bush, the issue there, right? Where the Supreme Court gave the presidency over to the Bushes because if they had counted the Florida, it was too close and Al Gore would have won. Nonetheless, the judge came in and said, no, y'all can't do that. No, you can't. Thank God for righteous judges. It's like, no, y'all can't do that. But there are in Pennsylvania, all of these swing states that they're trying to collude in making sure, they don't care if they're being lied to. They don't care if they're going to jail. They don't care if it's unconstitutional. All they want is to make sure people's votes don't count. They want to make sure that they suppress the vote because historically that if the vote is low, culture call, then quote unquote conservatives win. Because by and large, this is why it's going to be very difficult to change the rules of the Electoral College. Not because it's not an antiquated or an old system born from the Civil War time, right? That the 1800s. They don't want that because they're afraid that their Christian nationalism is not going to win because, of course, there are many more liberal people in the country or center-left people in the country than there is red or, center-red and far-right. They would never win another presidential election. And so that's what the Electoral College is, right? The truth of the matter is, watch me, America has been divided between red states and blue states. Okay, here it is. But all of the South are really purple states. They're not red states. They're only red because guess who won't vote? Guess who is voter suppressed? Guess who folks that says voting don't matter? Guess what brand of folks say that they're already picking this and there's no use for me to waste my vote? Guess who say, well, we're going to vote for a principled third party who you don't ever hear about until a federal election? Guess who does that? Us, black folks. That all of these elections, governor, all of these elections, senator, congressmen, all right now would watch this, would go different ways if all of us would register to vote. If every black person, every African American person, if you are an African American if you are an American of African descent and you got chocolicity, melanin in your skin, if we would vote, every southern state would be a purple state. Every last one. That's what happened in Georgia. Georgia proved it. And so I want to encourage you in our centering moment, in our opening moments of this culture call, to go to vote.org and check where you are. Check your voting registration right now. Don't delay. Do it right now. Do it right now as we take a break. This is the Culture Call. We're going to be talking about this all day. Listen, with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3 and 79 in WTSK. I need you to check vote.org.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. And this morning, we are talking about the power of your vote. The power of your vote. Wake up, Culture Call. We got things to do. Do y'all hear me? We got things to do. And I need you to understand, listen, that you and I have the ability to change and transform and transmogrify, transition this country into a place not where simply black people are on the top, because that's never been historically, that's never been our desire. It has been to live free and with liberty to exercise our own agency and worth as a people, as a person, as a family, as businesses, that our communities will thrive and our genius, our inventions will not be stolen from us. You know, that one of the greatest thing in the book, I'm reading a book called Reparations, and it's by an Asian author called Daniel Kwan and Gregory Thompson. They co-wrote it. And one of the things that they say in that book, Culture Call, is that one of the greatest things, or one of the most, when I say greatest, I'm not talking about greatest as in good, great, but one of the magnanimous things, pivotal things, if I can say it like that, that might be a better word, that white supremacy has done to in this country is a theft from African American people. Yeah. And that theft is not just finances, but it's the theft of truth. It's the theft of history. It's the theft of agency, right? It's the theft of creativity, the theft of thought, all of that. And what we have to understand is that's what makes things like reparation. I keep trying to tell my young folks, that's what makes reparation so hard, because number one, you think that the only thing that they stole was money, right? And wealth. And normally when we have the reparations conversation, it's always about what our parents worked for free. Our foreparents, our ancestors worked in this country for free. But you need to understand how that even came about. There was a theft of language, a theft of culture. Yes. It was a theft of history, a theft of agency, right? A theft of identity, a theft of placement, right? That the greatest thing that it has done in this country is to rob, and not just black folks, but even every kind of immigrant except European immigrants. And I was on a podcast with one of my mentors on the other week, and we started talking about this whole idea that he came to America. His ancestors came as Italians, and when they came, they had an olive skin. If you really go to Italy, they're not as Anglo as they are here, right? They're not as, that color. They have an olive color skin, a little hue to their skin. Even if you go in places up north in New York, you see that they've got a little hue in their skin, which made them in Italy appealing, where Rome is, right? Appealing to those in northern Africa, right? That's why you see that kind of that thing going on there in interracial marriage and all of those things from a historical perspective. Antony and Cleopatra, Antony being from that area of olive-colored skin people, and of course Cleopatra. And when we get to that area of Africa, was darker than she's portrayed. She's not Elizabeth Taylor, right? And so we saw that even in their relationship. When you get to Cleopatra, Nefertiti, and all those different kinds of people, those were black people. But nonetheless, when there was no race, there was a whole lot of interethnic, can I say that? Interethnic situationships going on, right? There was even a black emperor in Italy. What is his name? Septimius. But nonetheless, That wasn't an issue, right? It is only when those from Portugal went to Africa and they started under Henry, right? Henry the Lion, and they started putting our people into slavery that they created this whole notion of blackness. And then from blackness, they did the opposite and created whiteness. And then when you get to the 15, 16, 1700s, whiteness became a sign of superiority, right? It was not always so. Now, why are you saying that? Because I want to show you from a historical context that of this theft. And one of the main thefts that they did was take away our voice, right? And you know that's very important that we understand that, right? If you don't understand that one of the things that they took is to silence the slave. We don't want you to talk about your history. Then we're going to separate you as soon as you get to this country because we don't want any of you, to relate. We don't want you to discover common language, common belief, common religion, common relationship. And so that's where the selling and all that came from. So there was a theft there. And now, yet even still, I'm talking about as long as you can remember all the way now from 1619 all the way to now, they've been trying to rob our voice through our vote. Robbing our voice through our vote, right? In this city, Bloody Tuesday. In Alabama, in Selma, Bloody Sunday was all about the right to vote. Culture Call. Don't miss this. It's always been about the vote. Why? Because your vote is your voice, right? John Lewis said that the vote is precious. The vote is precious. It is the most powerful, nonviolent tool we have in democracy, right? Because our vote says what we stand for when our voice cannot be heard by the majority. Let me say it again, that our vote is what will talk for us and speak for us when our voices cannot be heard by the majority. That's why I have purpose, especially in this election cycle, every cycle, but especially in this cycle, Culture Call, that I am alerting you and I'm alarming you. I'm admonishing you. I'm using my prophetic tone and my prophetic voice to tell you that your vote matters. So make sure you can. Do not allow lethargy, and apathy and just, and to rob you of your voice. Don't do it. Don't do it. And here it is. It's not that voting don't work. Enough of us don't vote. Right? Enough of us don't vote. This is why, come closer, let me show you something else. This is why that voting in America, voting in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Y'all got that? This is the reason why the voting day is not a national holiday. This is why you don't get off work for voting day. No, that's why. Because if we let all these folks off the vote, listen, y'all, you got Juneteenth as a holiday. Think about it. You weren't even in Texas. Your folks weren't even from Texas. But you got Juneteenth off because of Mother Opal Hill that pushed it and grandmothered Juneteenth to become a federal holiday. But voting, National Vote Day, on any day that we vote and voices will be heard are not federal holidays. Push pause. Back up, y'all. Now you got to start thinking, why not? Because there is an ideological majority that do not want you to vote. It's that whole principle of making America great again, taking it back. And they're describing the time in the 1800s. They're describing the times. That's why that idiot Mark Robinson talking about, putting us back in slavery, the lieutenant governor of North Carolina that looks like you and I, that's talking about doing that again. What he think he was going to be? He already knows in his mind that he would be Stephen and Django. He already figures out that his proximity would save him. Period. They're already trying to relinquish and to overturn the 19th Amendment. because they don't want women to have the right to vote. They don't want that because, hey, it is what it is. Because what they're finding now, come closer, they're finding now that 53% of white women that voted for Trump in 2016, they're losing grip on that 53%. So instead of saying that, come closer, instead of saying that, let's just take away all the right to vote. And then you got a potential vice president, J.D. Vance, saying that women should just be home, taking care of their husbands, fixing dinner, and having babies. That is his issue, right? But he doesn't just get that. He doesn't just get that as an ideology that comes from Trump, because Trump doesn't even believe that. No. He believes in manipulating and philandering women, but he doesn't necessarily believe that women shouldn't have voices, right? J.D. Vance, his issue with single women with cats and all those things that he brings and all of this is because he believes that women have the place. They have the place in the home, right? Obeying their husbands. They don't believe in women in leadership, any of that. And he gets it from this group out of Idaho, yes, called the Theo Bros, that are 1,000% Christian nationalists, right? That they're trying to pair it together. What the Bible says and what they have distorted and twisted what God has said, stripping women of their rights. They see black and brown people as inconveniences to humanity, so they don't want us to vote either, so that the world can be led and dictated by Christian white men. Matter of fact, back up, Christian heterosexual white men. That's what their whole belief is. That's what the whole underpinning of Make America Great Again. He tried to, whitewash Trump on the other night. Why did he try to do that? Glad that you asked. Because I need to normalize him, not because he really supports Trump. He was the first one to call Trump the American Hitler. Now he is vice president. He kissed the ring and now he's vice president. But he has an ideology. He wants to be president one day. And he needs to support Trump, who wants to be a dictator from day one, so that it'll be easy, because Trump is going to get old, right? Because he's not going to run again. Trump is going to get old, and his hope is that he can take Trump's place. He would be the one. The vice president is the one assumptive to being that, right? Had not Mike Pence tripped out, he would have been J.D. Vance running for president. That part. He would have either been the top of the ticket or the vice presidential candidate. So you don't miss it. It's all intertwined. But guess what? We have an obligation. We have a responsibility to stop that. How do we do it? Well, we do it like John Lewis said, with our vote, with the power of our vote. Right? That's how we do it. And if we don't do it now, right? W.E.B. Du Bois said that the right to vote is the right to live. See, that's the point. That if I take away their vote, what am I saying in essence is that they don't have a right to live. Right? That they don't, no, that's the whole idea. And I don't like to sound dystopian because I'm a very optimistic person. I'm an encourager by nature. I'm one of the ones that, hey, we can do it. You can do it. Yeah, there's nothing too hard for you and God. We can always do it. That's the kind of person I am, to be a foe. But I am also practical. And in my practicality, I like to tell you the truth and what is real. And what is real is that there are people who would love to wind the clock back to an age when we did not have to their historical theft, to make it seem like we are glad about where we're. That's why you see DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion departments shutting down on college campuses. That's why they came after affirmative action. because they hate it. They feel like if you and I do better, and I'm not talking about, listen to me, and I'm not talking about all white people. I'm talking about those who have that supremacist mindset, that they believe that because you've done better, they obviously have done worse, because there's no way that you could be where you are if they wouldn't put in a bad situation. You being in Harvard, you being in Harvard is the reason why they didn't make it. You living in the house that you're living in is the reason why they're not living in their house that they want. And they've connected that. So let's not give those people who we have historically persecuted any kind of equity, any kind of egalitarianism, any kind of equality. Let's take the vote. Let's suppress the vote. And listen, from Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and even Texas. That's why they're fighting Harris County, which is where Houston and all of. That's why they're fighting there. Ken Paxton, Attorney General of Texas, they're fighting that to silence and suppress their voices because they feel like they're losing a grip on the reality of that which they've been trying to shape for generations. And so they're losing their grip on women, white women to be in particular. That 53% didn't vote with them in 2020, right? And that 53%, Kamala Harris is chiseling away at that 53% that put him in office the first time. So since we ain't got them no more, let's just shut it all down. And then I heard this ignorant woman get on the TV and said, I want a dictatorship. I don't care if I don't vote anymore or not. I was like, what is wrong with her? But she has drunk the Kool-Aid. Right? That's because she don't have a culture call. Huh? She don't have a culture call. No, that's not what she has. No, she loves to be subservient. She doesn't have her own mind. But that is the travesty. And I want to tell everyone who is listening to me to make sure that you get your throat ready. It ain't over till the fat lady sings. Well, we're getting ready to prepare ourselves in the next 30 some odd days to sing a song, to do a whole opera, to record a whole album on November 5th. Because we're getting ready to vote like never before. Vote like never before. Because literally, our existence is on the line. Not existence as people, but existence as people of worth and value and agency is on the line. So here we go again. Hey, while we're taking this break, go ahead. Vote.org. VOTE.org. Check it out. Make sure that you're registered. Make sure that they haven't done any hanky-panky with that, because we want to make sure that you show up. That's right. Show up for November 5th. Right? This is the Coach Call with your boy, L. Spencer Smith. Go ahead and check it out now.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Listen, it's 11 a.m. And some change. Yeah, right here on Praise 93.3, 790 WTSK. And we are having a day talking about the power of your vote. Want to welcome all of our second hour listeners. That's right. Welcome to the Culture Call family and the Culture Call conversation. We've been missing you. Hey, we've been needing you. Hey, to be here while we're talking about the power of your vote and this whole idea of this country shifting and transitioning into another direction, but that can only happen with the voice of your vote. That's right. Your voice can be heard if you vote. Absolutely. Listen, we're going to get back to that, but I also want to remind you or admonish all of you who have not participated or have not created yet a help and assistance kind of drive for the victims of Hurricane Helene in Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina in particular, and other places, Florida as well, that have been so greatly affected by that hurricane. to do so, to make sure that we are our brother's keepers. And it's very important. One of my dear friends, who she's pastoring in Asheville, and I hit up with her, and she sent me pictures of the Asheville area, and it looked like a disaster zone. It really did. It looked like, my goodness. And she was just telling me about how, some of the church members are missing, their relatives are missing, and they're feared that they were swept away by the overflowing rivers, the raging rivers there. I've been to Asheville several times before, and prior to this, it was a beautiful place, beautiful, one of the country's more gorgeous places where the Biltmore Estate is and all of that kind of stuff. But now, hurricane came in and literally decimated a lot of that city. So I know we are at the Impact Nation going to provide assistance and have already sent cash and all those things. We've already done that to help, because they have no banks and none of that. All of that is offline there. And, but we want to make sure that we encourage everyone that can and will. Pastor, if you're listening to me, all the organizations, figure out what, get your social person on the line and make sure that you organize something, and, let it not be too late, because a week has already gone by. And, the week is let me say that we're already too late. We're only not too late because, hey, even if you sent something in terms of non-perishable items, it's going to be difficult because there are no roads. The roads have been washed out, right? And of course, Asheville, North Carolina is just one place. And so there are several places that are still trying to gain power and touch with the outside world. If you can't give anything, if you cannot, Culture Call, I want to implore you to pray. I want you to speak well. I want you to pray for comfort, expectation, hope that President Biden and Vice President Harris have already sent as much federal assistance through FEMA to those places, Georgia, North Carolina, all of those who have requested it. Yeah, definitely want you to know that they've done that. But I also want us to formulate something that can be of assistance, right? We don't have to sit on our hands, and we don't have to just watch the news and just shake our heads as if there is nothing that we can do, because there's always something that we can do, right? And that simply is go ahead and organize and get something, whether that's a monetary gift, whatever it is, go ahead and organize, and let's get into the assistance program to help making sure that those people who were affected by the hurricane have everything that they need. Okay. I think that if we do that, that the Lord will be pleased, and so will we. I think that if we would do that, that would be a tremendous blessing to those who are waiting and needing of assistance. Listen, let me get back to our discussion, because I think it is highly important that we talk about the power of your vote. And, one of the things that I love to do is to make sure that I do due diligence and at least give you some history around some things. And there are some of you that are old enough that were children when a lot of the things in the 50s and the 60s and perhaps even the 40s were going on with regards to voting and civil and social issues, civil rights, and the passages of certain amendments. And that passage of amendments in the Civil Rights Act, signed by Lyndon B. Johnson, angered a whole lot of people. Let me tell you, it angered an incredible amount of people, because here's the deal. Everybody don't want you free, right? Everybody doesn't want you to have agency. There are really people that have the mental illness of racism. That one of my professors gave us a book by Toni Morrison, and Toni Morrison said that racism is a mental deficiency. It's a mental issue, right? And we've got to begin to understand that from the idea and the perspective that if we do not exercise our voice, if we do not vote, if we don't show up, there's a redrawn district here, even in Alabama, where Shamari figures, and the whole black district is running. And if we don't support it, we can't complain. If we don't exercise our vote, and I know, listen, and we don't have early voting here, which in Alabama, which again is a part of that notion that they figure that if you make it easy, more of black and brown people are going to vote. Yeah, if you make it easy. But if we make it harder, they'll be like, oh, no, I ain't gonna vote. I'm tired. They're banking on that. They're wishing and hoping that. And, that's sad. It is sad that in some instances, they're absolutely correct. That I'm not showing up. We're not showing up if it's made too inconvenient. And that is so, that I don't even know how we get to that place. But what I do know here's what I do know, that if we do not exercise our voice, that even if this state does not go in another direction, even if it doesn't, let's say it does not, if we can make it close enough, if we can resonate the ground, if we can make it 49 to 47%, that will send a message that we ain't playing. And a whole lot will begin to change. Right? That if we get up off of our rusty dusty, like my daddy used to say, get off your rusty dusty and do something and stand in that line, right? And make sure and get your folks that's 18, the younger people who think that this doesn't have anything to do with them. No, you need to tell them, hey, you're going to blink and then the police going to grab you because they think you're Haitian. We're already wearing, dreads and hair, because again, it's the language, the meaning that they create, not what you mean. You could be a full African American, born and bred here in Greene County, Tuscaloosa County, Jefferson County. You could have been raised and bred, but you're in their mind because you have the dreads and the locks. You come from Haiti, and you just heard the man say, the former president say, that we're gonna round them up and send them back if they can't prove that. But see, that roundup goes with this, that the police can come and rough you up. I ain't making it up. That's what he said. That one day, 1 hour of violence. That's what, that part. You could be walking in the store, walking with a pack of M&Ms in your hands, and somebody could say, hey, you're a shoplifter, and that store guard or whatever can rough you up legally. And then he's giving police immunity, total immunity, absolute immunity, to be able to create that kind of state. So you got folks out here, you waiting for a check, you might not live to see another check. Right? That's the point. And so that's got to be something that we do. Now, I do understand that black women and black men are the highest percentage of voters with regards to, in terms of the Democratic Party for minorities there, but there are some that are sitting on there, and we need to shake the table and say, what are you even thinking about? There are some that's sitting up under the tree. They're like, nah, man, vote name for me. That makes absolutely, positively no kind of sense. None, I say. It makes no sense. Literally, that your future is on the line. Here's another reason to vote, that if you can't get away with, if you commit a crime, why should they get away with it? Why should he be able to have an insurrection started, try to hide it? Why should he be able to do all of these other things and not go to jail? He could be a president when all the other felons can't even vote. He can't even vote in this election, but he can run for president. Does that make any sense? It doesn't, but only in America, right? And so there's a generation, there was one generation that came through that felt that, were pushing for the rights to vote, but now that's not this generation. There is millions of people in this country that feel like you and I and women and nobody else, immigrants, which we all are immigrants. There are only one native people to this country, and they sent them to the West with the Trail of Tears and put them on reservations and made it seem like this land is your land, this land is my land. No, we didn't own this land. History, y'all. And so we got to do what we got to do, and that is vote. That's right, vote. So I hope you're already preparing yourself. Yeah, that you've already marked out where you're supposed to vote, that you got your license and you got all of these things that you need so that when you go there will be no trouble at the river. Culture Call. The reason why I'm doing this kind of show today, because I want to make sure that you are ready. You know how we sing the church song, I want to be ready, I want to be ready, I want to be ready when Jesus comes, right? But I want you to be ready for November 5th. That's not a sacrilege. I just need you to be prepared. Like Scar says in The Lion King, be prepared. That's exactly what we want you to do. That's right. Because listen, you don't understand it, but I'm going to help you. There is an ilk in this state, in this country, that's already prepared for you voting. That's why they're moving drop boxes. They're penalizing souls to the polls. I used to live in Florida, and there used to be a thing called Soul to the Polls. So you on this one Sunday, because Florida had early voting, that you could go. All the church would pack the church on that Sunday and go vote after church. The whole church, pastor and everybody, will go and vote. And that was putting too many people who were changing the tide. So they changed the rules. And now they're upset if you give somebody bottled water, if they're standing in the heat or standing in line. If you help somebody, you can go to jail. Do you know how twisted that is? Culture Call. Do you hear how wicked and sadistic that is? That if I pass somebody a bottle of water handed out, that I could go to jail for doing that? Why? It doesn't necessarily have to do with the vote. It has to do with you sustaining somebody who's trying to vote. And at the end and the beginning of the day, we don't want this person to vote from the beginning. So we are mad. We're going to find any reason, right? This mayor in Michigan thought that he would move a drop box. Now he's getting ready. He was indicted. Now he's getting ready to go to jail because, he wanted 15 minutes of fame. But there was an attack on voting in this country, and you've got to begin to ask why. You got to begin. And I'll tell you why. Because the society is changing. It is. And I think it is important for us to talk about this on the Culture Call, on this station in particular, right? Because a whole lot of our acculturation as religious people, as spiritual people, have been to adopt this ideology of otherness. So we don't see people as potentials of those who could give their lives and live a more dedicated life to God and faith and things. That's not how we are taught. We are taught to otherize people, and the way that we did that is not necessarily from us. It's from this whole idea of blackness versus whiteness. And that versus seems like, this whole idea of supremacist thought. I've got to have somebody to otherize. So I am a citizen and you are an alien. Illegal alien at that. Right? And, but that word alien sets a narrative. Because out of the surplus of meaning, like, right? Because when we talked about illegal aliens and stuff like that, or aliens, period, when I was growing up, we were talking about somebody from outer space, somebody that was not from this planet. Aliens, right? Somebody that was green and or purple, had bugged out eyes, had interesting skin and all of that. That's what alien meant, right? And then alien began to mean, in that movie with Sigourney Weaver, alien began to mean that there's something that's trying to eat you, trying to impregnate you with, to have that. That's what alien meant. But now they've come out because they have to create hatred and division around the immigration question. So they had to put a word. And anytime, watch me now, anytime they're trying to create division, hear me. Anytime white supremacy is trying to create division, they're going to use a word, because the word sets the narrative out of the surplus of meaning. The word that they use. So alien means what? Now they're illegal aliens. You see, immigrant would and it's immigrant. See, immigrant means to because they can't separate themselves from that immigrant, because we are all immigrants. So I gotta say illegal immigrants, right? From Mexico, from Haiti, from any of the other islands that are not a part of the United States. But they never call, those from European countries illegal aliens. And yes, they are here. All of them that are not here legally, no. But it's that illegal alien is relegated to a particular kind of people, right? And then they create language. Watch it. They create language. Woke. Right? As if there is something wrong with being woke. But they take the word and then use the word. That's what it does. That you go to one of them woke churches. And I was like, bro, what you talk about? Those churches that believe in social justice and stuff. Well, then yes. Oh, yes. Because the God that I serve and the Jesus that I gave my heart and my life to, he believed in social justice. He was someone that believed in blessing the masses. He's the one that produced, in your mind, Jesus would be a socialist, sir. He would be woke. Why? Because he allowed everybody to get in. He came into his own, and his own received him not, but to as many as would receive him. To them, he gave power to become the sons of God. So he was all inclusive. Any that would come to him who were weak and heavy laden, he promised that he would give them rest. And that is a woke statement. Why? Because if that were the case, if it was just subject for some people, watch this, the Pharisees and the Sadducees would have been the only ones that could have got in, because they, in their minds, they were the only one of merit. But no, Jesus came to turn over their tables. Jesus came to upset their traditionalism and their religiosity, their piety. Right? The parable that he uses time and time again had political implications. When Jesus talks about this man who had a wedding feast, but the people who he invited didn't show up. They made other excuses. Then he sent his servants out. He says, and go out and compel men to come, and go into the hedges and the highways. And it is always the hedges and the highways that has supremacy nervous. Because when they start coming in from the hedges and the highways, the power dynamic shifts. Right? Right? That's what they would call woke. Right? That's what they would call woke. And so that's something that we need to understand. I was in class the other day and I was like, yo, y'all tripping. It irks me when black folks in particular trip about our Latinx or our Hispanic brothers and sisters who come in the country who just want a better life. Right? And they're coming and running away from oppression. And they come in, and then we as black and brown people, black folks, use the same language to describe them as supremacy does. Well, listen, you were enforced immigration. You should know. Why would you even say that about them? See, it's a mindset. We adopt these subtle mindsets and this language. Because remember what I just said, language and words set a particular narrative. that is always promoting the power and the agency of the majority. But they're the ones that's picking the fruit. Yeah, they're the ones down in Atlanta, in Florida, in Plant City, picking the strawberries. They're the ones that's doing that. They're the ones on the top of the roofs of the houses, building the roofs. They're the one that's doing the masonry, the bricks on the home. All of this advancement in Tuscaloosa, they're the ones in the hot sun holding them signs in traffic. I see them every morning. They're the ones. Yeah. They're the ones that are mowing the grass and keeping the lawns going. They're the ones. They're the ones now that are cleaning our houses. Yeah. You know who that used to be? Come closer. That used to be us. Yeah. And so the same dignity that we gave our foreparents when they worked for those folks, when they raised their children and nursed their children and all of that, those same folks that our ancestors had to wash their clothes and wash their houses, cook their food, and would wrap some up and bring some home to you in the old clothes. Yeah. And you wanted your foreparents, your grandparents to be treated and viewed as dignity. Well, now those people now are Hispanic because our generation, like, we ain't gonna do that no more. We ain't finna do that. We done that, and our foreparents have already done that. But we're using the language that they used against our foreparents that we were like, no, you ain't gonna say that about my grandmama, my great grandmama, but you're saying that about them. See, we've got to begin to understand that if you're not careful, let me say it again, Culture Call, that if you're not careful, you can become the very thing that you're fighting so hard not to be like, because it ain't you. You can recognize it when it's coming from white folks and white supremacy, but you can't recognize that same language when it comes out of your mouth. And what I'm trying to tell you is you got to be aware, because you could be bitten by the apple, or you could be biting the apple and drinking the Kool-Aid and sounding like them. You don't believe it? Byron Donald from Florida. He was on CNN talking about, well, no, Trump didn't say that about one violent day. And then Abby Collins said on CNN, said, hey, play the clip. They played the clip, the exact clip where it said it. And then immediately he went into defense mode. And Keith Boykin, another black guy, was like, yo, Abby, don't let this man lie on your show. He's lying now. Don't let him do it. Because we can find that. Listen, we can find people who are so happy to be close to what they consider to be privileged that they easily forget, if they're not but for the grace of God, could have been our generation. But our foreparents fought. Our foreparents, I used to get angry. I was going to say umbrage, but I used to get angry and mad when these shirts and these young folks like, we are not our ancestors. Listen, son. Listen, daughter. Hear me. If it wasn't for your ancestors, you would not be here today. You would be bowing over. Hello, picking cotton. Up 65, going toward Montgomery, all the way back into going to Birmingham. If it wasn't for your ancestors fighting and bleeding and dying, surviving bomb threats. What do you mean you're not like your ancestors? Oh, you mean you don't have agency? You don't want a better day and work hard for your children? Is that what you mean? Because that's got to be what you mean. Because I can speak collectively and individually. My ancestors, my foreparents were some kind of powerful people. They would do that, made sure that their kids went to college. Yes. Built universities, HBCUs, and things of that nature because you couldn't go to a PWI. They built these schools. Yeah. They were doctors, teachers, all of them. They fought. Even while having to go through the back doors of restaurants. You're going to come over here and talk you like you're not ancestor. You know why? Because you don't have that same pressure. But if, I'm telling you, now listen, you can mark this down with a red pen. Listen, this is a check. Take it to the bank and cash it because it's not going to bounce. If you don't exercise your voice and vote, and you let a particular regime, see, because this is not about policy anymore. This is about democracy. This is about the history of how far we come and can we go further. If you don't do anything, Culture Call, guess what? Then you might be your ancestors. You might be in the same sitz im labin, the same life situation, the same life context as they were. Look it up. Why ain't nobody saying nothing? No. You won't have, listen, you, as big as my mouth is, you will not have that excuse that ain't nobody said nothing. Right. See, that part. Because we've got to begin, as Denzel Washington said in The Great Debaters, we've got to begin to reclaim our righteous mind. And that righteous mind is calling us into action, into activity, into participating. Yes, exercising our rights to expound upon the futures that we, and hear me, come closer. And we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for our children's children. Like Proverbs says, a good man leaves an inheritance, what? To his children's children. Right? And that is important, that we are not just doing this for ourselves. We are doing this for our children's children, the people that we may not even know yet, that are not even born yet. And yet we are out here in these streets fussing and fighting and flailing and saying, hey, get yourself together. I'm telling you right now, we're going to miss an opportunity if we don't do that. We're going to miss an opportunity if we do not exercise our right to vote. So I need you to go ahead, vote.org. I told you at every break I'm going to be saying it. Go and check your voter registration, or go ahead and register to vote at vote.org. I believe the online registration time, the last time in Alabama is October 21st. I'm thinking that. I'm going to check that during the break. But until then, go ahead to vote.org, vote.org, and get ready to make your voices heard. And I'll catch y'all on the other side.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with your boy, yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Hey, I'm telling you, we are having an amazing conversation. And I'm hoping and I'm praying that something that we are saying is resonating. I ain't fussing at nobody. I have to say like my mom would say, I ain't fussing at nobody. But I need you to pay me some attention. And I only have, listen, this is a class. This is a whole week of lecture. And I really want to do a public forum. I'm trying to get my schedule right because I want everybody to understand the very importance of what I'm saying. And maybe this is my public forum as I on every day, right? That there is an effort to rip away some of the voicing of the American people. And it's been happening since the time of this country, right? That is amazing that when this country was established, that and they came over, they were fleeing religious rule and religious domination from England, that they didn't want the Church of England and the king to rule. So that's what sent them over here, because they wanted to establish their own freedom of religion, right? It's amazing now that we're in 2024 and they want to return to that. Now, go back to England. Since you're sending everybody else back, go back to Europe. Go back to England if that's what you want. Right. If you want a king and a queen and all that, if you want to be ruled by the Church of England, all that kind, if you want that, because that's what you're looking to establish in America. That's what you're looking to establish in this country. The whole thing that you escaped from. And that has to be oxymoronic on its ear. That's got to be the height of a societal, cultural, historical hypocrisy. That the reason why this country is established is now exactly what you want to reestablish. But the issue is now that you're on the top. But here's the deal. You've always been on the top. Right. And you constructed this country to be a land of subserviency and bondage. I know we say freedom and liberty, but there's only one people that didn't have to fight for freedom and liberty in this country that have come to this country. Yeah, I mean, that's facts. Right? Everybody else had to fight and do something, and even women had to, except those, antebellum belles, those Southern belles who still, are demurred and devoted to the system because it gives them some kind of agency. Right? No, we're not exonerating any of them in those agencies, right? That were thriving in this area of the country at the time, in the South, right? But because you're losing your grip on your Southern belles, you're losing your grip. Now you want to turn it back to where you came from. That's interesting. And what we have to understand is that it never works well for us. Never. It never works well for us. You see? It never does. And one of the things that we've got to remember and have to understand is my sister always used to say that anything that is built on a fool's premise will be overturned. Anything, any place, any ideology, that is based on a fool's premise will be overturned. And I think that is important for us to note and it's important for us to do that. And one of the things that we've got to continue to do is to exercise our voice. We are not going back. No. We used to say, I'm going to run on to see what the end going to be. Guess what? We are not. Let me say this again, y'all. We are not going back. Not at all. We're not doing it at all. And so, the agency and that has been given to us and it's bathed and soaked in blood is the agency of voting. It's the agency of voting, Culture Call. And this whole idea of, Smith, I need you to be quiet. Smith, don't you say that, hey, you're going to ruffle too many feathers. Whose feathers? I'm not even, listen. As opposed to saying, let's pluck that bird, you weren't about preserving feathers. Under whose wing you find no safety. There is no soaring using those wings. And so, that there's got to be a continuation of the generational speaking truth to power. And watch this, speaking truth to power and making sure there's power in the truth that we speak. Right? And so that's something that we've got to do. That's something that has been bequeathed to us from our ancestors. And we can't just sit there. We can talk about a whole lot of things. There's a whole lot of community things, a whole lot of city things that we're watching, that take place, There's the whole debate about education. There's a whole debate about how do we advance, Do we build this? Do we build that? Who do we cater to? Who does this town, city, state cater to? All those conversations are stems or branches, if you will, from the conversation that we're having right now. Yeah, we've definitely got to do that. And if we do not, let me say this again, if we do not, we're going to have a situation whereby, y'all, we're going to have a situation whereby we won't have access to the future. We will not be who we think we can be and need to be. Over the last decade, especially within the last 5 years, we've seen an influx and increase in HBCU attendance. Do you know why? Do you ponder why? Right. That every Saturday we set ourselves, we get our queso and dip, we get our spinach dip, we get, our rotel, our buffalo wings, and we watch the University of Alabama. We watch them. And they look like they got a heck of a team this year. That Brian Williams ain't no joke. But nonetheless, I digress. And we can't ever forget that that's the same place that just year severed itself from its DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department. Right? See, so you got to know that even in the same place where you celebrate and you cheer, that, yeah, but how do you view me? You see what I'm saying? So there's a vigilance that must always be there. There's a vigilance that must always resonate within the corridors of our hearts and our minds, and definitely in our eyes and our awareness, our consciousness, that one generation of ease and comfort and convenience, right? One generation to think that equity and equality is that of equitable consumerism, just because we can buy the houses they can buy and live in the cars that they can, drive in the cars that they drive, and, go and get the Louis and the Gucci and the Canali and Yves Saint Laurent, all those different kinds, go on vacations. Just because we can do that now does not mean that is the equality and equity. Because the issue was never about the whole mindset and context of you and I being able to experience this understanding of who I can get what they get, that I can live what they live, and I can drive what they drive. It's never was that. No, but do you view me? How do you view me? Do I have the same opportunity as a human? And that's a higher level of responsibility and accountability. That takes another level of humanity. That takes another level of the protection of your dignity. Right? Because when history records, you're still not going to be in the buy notes. I was just looking at, from an artistic perspective, I'm using it to make a point. I was just looking at a chart of the 50 top bands on Billboard. On Billboard. Billboard is like the international rating magazine of what is it in music. And out of all 50 bands, they didn't have any black bands. They didn't have Earth, Wind, and Fire, which is the quintessential band. They didn't have Confunction. Yeah, none of that. They didn't have the Commodores. And I'm only using that. They didn't have Mint Condition. None of that. I'm using them to, Sly Stone. None of that. All of them were Beatles, all these, right, European bands and some American bands of that Billboard. Because no matter if you're even allowed in those spaces, they get to write the history. And that's what I'm trying to get us to understand and shake this notion of we're close, but we ain't there yet. Which is why you cannot, this is not a normal season. You can't just sit home. You can't just get prepared. I say to my kids, my young adults, right? I say that to them all the time. Hey, make sure y'all got registered to vote. Whether it goes your way or not, your voice was heard. But when you don't do it, you've allowed somebody to pick for you. See, when you don't vote, or better yet, when you do vote and you don't win, you can at least say that you were on the right side of history. You did exercise your right to vote. And that in the back of the majority voice, there's always going to be an echo of what you spoke. Right? But let's not concede to the cynicism and the skepticism. Let's utilize the systems that try to marginalize. Yes, let's make sure that, if standing in the line, if doing my due diligence like El's been telling me to do, like Bishop has been saying, if that's going to put us closer to the mark of where we need to be as a community, as a people, as a state, as a country, if it's going to do that, then let's do it. Let me get myself together. Let me get myself together, because not exercising my voice is not an option for me. I'm too smart not to be heard. I know too much to be silent. You feel what I'm saying? You, Culture Call, know too much. I'm giving you too much every day for you to act like, oh, this don't mean nothing. Listen, I might need to replay this again tomorrow. I don't know. I need you to hear this, that you know too much, have experienced too much in this country to just stick your swords in the sand of time and study war no more. No, leave that for eternity. Leave that for the eternal rest. But while we are on terra firma, we got work to do. That's right. And every day I'm going to make sure that you know to do it. When you go to vote.org, VOTE.org, and they're going to give you information of how you can or how you can check to see if you are prepared to vote. Listen, we're about to land this plane, but I need you to go ahead to your website on your phone or wherever you are and check your voter registration, and we'll be right back.
This is the world premiere.
Well, Culture Call, we're at the end of another broadcast, and I am telling you, I am stirred up. I am. This is one of those things that I can talk about always, all day. It's a part of my purpose and my mission for even having this broadcast to make sure that my community is never late, last, or lost. And, some people, because I'm a pastor and a preacher and, they want me to talk about, the church and all that kind of stuff. No, but the church in my foundation informs my view. It informs my view of responsibility. Yes. It informs my view of this whole notion of what I am supposed to be doing in terms of, how I empower the people that are around me. That I cannot know something. I cannot, just simply be a part of and be silent. Let me just say that. I can't be silent when my people are not where they need to be. And so part of the assignment that I do have, and I hey, and that is to sometimes, get on some folks' nerves. I love it. It's what I've been anointed to do. It's what I've been called by God to do. I believe it with all of my heart that God has put me in this place, in this position to just, bring a level of understanding to who we are as a people. And I think that as I do that, when I have done that, then the Lord will be pleased. Everybody else will get in where they fit in. Everybody else will get in where they fit in. Otherwise, guess what? Hey, they're going to be okay. They're going to be fine. And so, today we've had a great conversation about voting and the necessity of voting and check-in. That's why every time I took a break, I wanted you to go to vote.org, and I want you to do that even before I sign off. As I'm giving my, hey, all right, we good, see y'all later. Yeah, I want you to think about exactly what this season means for us and do your part. Do your part in the change. Be the change you want to see. Can I say that again? Be the change you want to see. Stop complaining. Stop. Go ahead and sing the song, I Won't Complain. Yeah, I need you to go ahead and do what you got to do. Okay, cool. Vote.org. Listen, at the end of every phone call, my mama and my grandmama used to say, I love you a bushel, I love you a peck, and I love you a hug around the neck. This has been yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on your talk show, The Culture Call. Praise 93.3, 790 WTSK. Be good, be nice, be kind to everyone. And don't forget about those who might need a little help. Give them a helping hand. And I'll catch you on tomorrow at 10 from 10 to 12. Y'all have a beautiful, blessed day. Peace.